Good evening. We are live, babe.
Oh,
live.
good evening. I guess I should be paying attention now.
Yeah, see the little red button?
Oh, that was
Uh-huh. Hey, everyone. Come on and join us.
Go through
Let's talk about leadership.
leadership. Yeah, so as you guys know, most of you know by now, every Thursday what we do is we discuss topics that can strengthen your family life. As you guys know.
Hey, Rosita.
Hey, Rose, how you doing? Oh, what's going on, Josh? But every Thursday we talk about issues that can strengthen your family life. And this month we're going to have some leadership talk. We're going to be discussing it from our book, Leadership Done Right is Hard Work, but it's worth it. It's a 31-day guide to help you become a leader of impact from the inside out. Mm-hmm. And but like I said, 7:00, that's our time to sit around and have a little talk so we can get better at some things. As a matter of fact, this entire month, we're going to be discussing various topics from our leadership book. And, hold on 1 second.
You okay?
Yeah. What you guys can't see is I'm actually adjusting my watch because I had something sticking me in my wrist underneath the table. But our goal really is to provide the how-tos of acquired knowledge. We, as we say, we know that there's no shortage of information, especially with the proliferation of the internet. Look, we're on the internet right now with this Facebook Live. And so, getting that information is extremely easy to do. However, as we can see with the daily practicality of life and the challenges that we have, and when we measure the results, we see the application of that knowledge has been extremely difficult. So that's the thing that most people struggle with, and we want to help you with that. We feel as though we at a point in our lives now where we've actually had some success in that area.
Yes.
And we can share. Now, one area where we haven't had some successes, as we say, we try to keep these videos to around 30 minutes, or these Facebook Lives to around 30 minutes. And we've been still struggling with that. And we've set it to ourselves, and our children have let us know that you guys have been struggling with that 30-minute goal. So we're going to try to do better with that. We're working on it. And that's one area we're going to really seek to improve. That's how we're measuring ourselves. We're going to give ourselves a performance rating there. Mm-hmm. But, I'm Tony Davis. This is my wife, Nicole Davis. As we say, your marriage and family mentors, and we're going to dive into the topic of leadership tonight.
Right. So tonight we're going to talk about practice being excellent. And we're actually coming directly from our book, Leadership Done Right is Hard Work, but it's worth it. And we want to focus on the being worth it part. We're focusing on excellence. Yeah, it's worth it. What'd I say?
You said being worth it.
Yes.
That's a totally different topic.
Being worth it. That might be something. Mm-hmm. Note that. Yes. So anyway, we're coming straight from our book. And if you haven't heard any of our past videos, we've talked about, why we wrote this book and why we wrote our other books, which is a part of the Done Right series. We have Marriage Done Right. It's hard work, but it's worth it. And Parenting Done Right is hard work, but it's worth it. And the importance of our leadership book is most times people look at leadership from an external perspective. Mm-hmm. And when we wrote this book, it's really to self-evaluate and to look at how it is that you really lead yourself. You are the COO, CEO, CFO of yourself. And the better you do with disciplining yourself, watching how you talk, how you conduct yourself, how you treat other people, will have a direct impact on how it is that you're able to influence or lead other people. But we just want to take the focus in first before we really look at how it is that we're influencing other people. So that is what has really shaped this book and what was our impetus for writing it, really wanting to give people something to guide them in how it is that they're living their lives every day.
Yeah, and also just give you even more insight there. When we wrote the Done Right series, the leadership book was actually the third book in that Done Right series. We've written the marriage and the parenting books before this one. Mm-hmm. And with the leadership book, what we actually said was, even with those books, they focused on how to deal with each other. But the thing that's going to really make even those other two books work is for individuals to work on themselves. What kind of person is actually trying to raise their children? What kind of person is actually in that marriage trying to make it work? Because if you don't deal with yourself, even with that being said, with the how-tos, you're going to still struggle. So leading yourself and getting better with how you approach things and actually changing your mindset is key. It's a key element. that's going to really bring about that desired change. And tonight we're going to talk about one of the topics in our book. I think it's day 16. Day 16. Yes. It's on page 89. That's how we recognize it. But that topic is practice being excellent. Practice being excellent. And
when you think about excellence, what is excellence? Because we said that that's a subjective term, right?
Yeah, that's what we say. Excellence is actually both. I think it's both subjective and objective. It's one of those things, almost like beauty. A lot of times people may have a difficult time defining it, but they know it when they see it. And as we talked about even before, from you like to eat. Those of you can't tell, she put me on blast about how I can't make a pie. So I'm gonna put her on blast. She loves to eat. So, but for someone who loves to eat, we know the difference between a 2-star restaurant and a 5-star restaurant when we walk in. And as a matter of fact, we've actually gone to a couple places and we've sat down, and Nicole has said to me, babe, we can't even eat here. Let's just go. We're not going to order. We're going to go because this place is not excellent. And
is that something that's learned? Like, how do we know? We walk in a place and feel a certain way, or we see certain things, and we can say in that moment, this is not good, or this is not excellent, and then we have to make a determination about what we're going to do.
I think a lot of that is acquired. Because, and I just use the restaurant example. I mean, those restaurants obviously exist. People eat there, and we've actually gone to places that actually had pretty good crowds. And we said, babe, we can't eat here. And to me, sometimes that can be a little bit confusing because by the same token, you'll go into a hole in the wall.
And I was just thinking
you'll go into a hole in the wall,
but I won't. Not really.
Yeah, you'll send me into a hole in the wall, but
I can't see it.
Yeah, and you'll say, I want something from that place. So I think it's acquired, but nevertheless, we still know it when we see it. Just like we talked about restaurants, we talked about it from a hotel perspective, and your aunt who's worked in
the hotel industry.
No, but what's her department called?
Executive housekeeping.
Housekeeping in the hotel industry. I mean, she's giving you a lot of tips, and there are hotels where you'll say, no, there's a certain standard that I need an excellence. I need a standard of excellence, especially when it comes to cleaning. In the organization that we just became board members of, they receive a standard of excellence for the way they operate their business. So, what they're saying is that they do things a certain way. It's at a higher standard, a higher quality than other people do it.
So when you think about how quickly it is for us to be able to look at something externally and be able to determine whether or not it's excellent, it's good, we want to be a part of it or not, we're saying take that same standard that you have and look at how it is that you do whatever it is that you do. Because the question you can ask yourself, would you want to be led by a person like you?
I think we've been to sit on that for a second.
Yeah, I think so.
Even though we're trying to stay within this 30-minute time limit, but would you want to be led by somebody like you? It's easy to justify what you do and how you do it when you're the one barking out the orders. But if you take yourself out of the situation and put yourself in that other person's shoes, would you want someone with your integrity, your work ethic, your way of doing things, your way of communication actually leading you? And then can you honestly answer that question and say, yes, I would love to be led by Tony, or I would love to be led by Nicole, or whatever your name is. I would love to be led by, let me see some names out there, Drina, Linda, Devin, hey, Darren, Drina. Laura. Hey, Drina, how you doing? Sandy, yeah. Whoever you are. Would I want somebody in charge of me to be just like me? And I think that's something that we need to have an honest evaluation of. And if we don't like the answer, when we answer it honestly, do we have enough guts to make those changes? Because that's what big excellence is all about. First of all, you got to be honest.
Right. That's true.
You got to be honest.
When nobody else is around.
Absolutely.
Well, at least we think nobody else is around, because the thing about this whole notion of excellence, you can have a worldly kind of excellence, or you can have a kingdom excellence. And there is a difference. And that's why the book is entitled Leadership Done Right is Hard Work, because we have a standard that we can actually apply to our lives. And it's called the Word of God, the Bible. That is what we use to dictate, to help us determine how it is that we're not only going to live our individual lives, but how we're going to treat the people who are in our lives. What does the word say? And how are we measuring up against the word? And that's something that I don't know that a lot of us take into the workplace with us, even though we say the Bible says to do everything as unto the Lord.
It's cliche.
It's a cliche.
Yeah, we don't live that way. No, we rather complain. But when it comes to communication, I mean, when it comes to excellence, I think one of the areas where we really struggle, I think we struggle in two areas, and I guess I'm going to probably jump the gun a little bit, but we struggle with communication. But before I talk about communication, I think one of the foundational problems we have is one of your pet peeves.
What?
You call it the at-leasters. The at-least. I think
that's a group of people.
That's the at-leasters. That's a group. Yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Because you brought it up.
It's your term, though.
Well, okay. So my issue with that is whenever something is being done, you do the bare minimum to accomplish it. You half step. You look for ways to cut corners. You look for shortcuts. And when you do that, what do you think the outcome is going to be, especially in the long run? So say maybe you get away with it in the beginning. But if that's the way you conduct your life, well, you have your spouse that's looking at you. You have your children that's looking at you, people that you fellowship with or go to church with. They're looking at how it is that you cut corners. And that is a mindset to me. When you do everything with the thought of how can I do the least to get by, then it's a way that you think. And so you need to renew your mind and try to work towards, because the name of this chapter is actually practice being excellent, which means you need to make it a habit, which means it's something that has to be intentionally focused on every day, because a lot of times we take the path of least resistance. And when we do that, excellence isn't on that path. You have to choose to be excellent. And when you're not, if you are the kind of person that you hear yourself saying, well, at least I did this much. Well, it may not be what they wanted, but at least I showed up, or at least I gave something, or at least then you're an at-leaster. Yeah,
at least I did it.
At least I did it.
And as a matter of fact, you should be satisfied because at least and then you just fill in the blank from there. And the problem with that is that I'm saying that at least I did it, and you should be satisfied with my lack of excellence.
You should be telling you should be satisfied with that. And that's not how we should operate. So if you take on any project, if you're involved in anything, if anybody is depending on you for anything, and your mindset or your frame of mind is that of, okay, I'll do it, but I'm gonna look for the easiest way to do it, then you need to practice being excellent, as we say in the book.
Yeah, and and even with that being said, I would say don't let anybody shame you out of
that's good.
Shame you out of being excellent, because
that's good.
Granted, for those of you who know Nicole and me, we don't give a rip. We don't care. But people will say that, man, you guys have really high standards, and you get called some names that aren't necessarily too pleasant because you have high standards. But what I would say is, don't ever sacrifice your standards and your excellence to accommodate to accommodate someone who may not have those standards, because at the end of the day, you have a desired output and you have a desired result, and you're not going to get it cut, as you said, cutting corners and being an at-leaster. And there's a lot of peer pressure, because we already know y'all want it done a certain way. We already know.
Yes.
We are, and you know what? And at the end of the day, even though you may say it as if it's some kind of attack, I take it as a compliment, because I'm really glad that you already know that I want it done a certain way. You already know that I'm not going to be satisfied with cutting corners. You already know that if it's not excellent, I will reject it. And as a matter of fact, I will let you know about it as well. And you may say, well, no, that's not good enough for me. That doesn't meet my standard. But the reality is, then your response may be, well, nobody can meet your standard. But that's not true. People who practice excellence can always meet that standard. As a matter of fact, they can even exceed that standard. But the other point is communication.
Hey, Carl.
What's up? Oh, what's up, Carl? How you doing, man? But the other point is communication. How are your communication skills? And do you practice good communication skills?
Well, wait, babe, because you said a lot. You said a lot with that.
You need to put a pin in
that.
Okay,
I need to go back. Because excellence is not just, well, this is the way they like it. Because that goes back to that. When you are involved with someone who has a higher standard than you, or they require something more than you want to give, it makes you feel a certain way. In fact, you might have an attitude, especially if it's, at work, if a report is sent back, if it's at home. And we do it with the kids all the time. Like if they do something, whether it's homework or anything, and we say, no, that's not good. You need to go back. You need to do this. Excellence is also a form of caring.
Yes.
When you are excellent, and you think about it from the standpoint of a restaurant, a hotel, any kind of experience, it is it's external how you feel about what someone has done for you. And if they've done it in an excellent manner, you feel like, man, they really care about me. Mm-hmm. Like this restaurant really cares that we have a good experience. They're meeting us at the door. Mm-hmm. They're putting the napkin in our laps. They're coming and checking on us multiple times. It's the same way with how it is that we interact with other people. The more we care about them, we're going to take time to make sure every detail is correct. We're going to take the time to make sure we've considered all the possible options for how things could be done, because we want to make sure they feel special. And that's what excellence brings when you practice excellence. Yeah,
absolutely. And, for some of you who may have just tuned in, you said, man, I thought you guys talked about marriage and family. What's this whole leadership stuff? Why are you talking about that? And how does excellence fit into that? I mean, what does it have to do with marriage and family? Mm-hmm. And my answer to that has everything to do with marriage and family, because when you think about it, the kind of person that you are is going to dictate the kind of relationship that you have. And of course, the most important relationship that you have, other than your relationship with Jesus Christ and the Holy Spirit, the most important person that you actually can see and touch every day is your spouse. Mm-hmm. And are you going to bring excellence into the marriage, or are you going to have at least our marriage?
Ooh.
Go ahead. Well, you said ooh, so go ahead.
That's hard, because first of all, we talked about excellence from the standpoint of when nobody is around. To live an excellent way with just the people in your house, your spouse, your children, or family members, you don't feel like you need to be excellent with them, because after all, that's my family. Mm-hmm. There are no consequences, really. So you think.
Well, no, ho.
So you think.
No, but we know that there are consequences there.
No. Why do we do it then?
Because people fuss all the time.
But if we thought there were any real consequences, I'm going all the way to the end. If you are constantly negligent with your spouse, you show them no attention, no affection, you do nothing together. There's no fun, fire, and focus in your relationship. Right. That's a plug for our other book, Marriage Done Right. Mm-hmm. None of that is happening. You may think that, she'll just be mad and she'll get over it.
Well, she should get over it.
She should
even though it's been scientifically proven that she never does.
Yes. Relationships that are consistently like that end in divorce, because nobody wants to be neglected. Nobody wants to be ignored. And excellence, when you operate in excellence in your marriage, you're always, just like I just explained, you're always considering the other person. And it doesn't have to be someone that you're trying to impress that doesn't know you. We're talking about wanting to impress and show care for the person in your home. And it's difficult at times, especially if you're mad.
Yeah. Especially if you're mad. and for those who aren't being excellent, you may have noticed, you already know, you spent a lot of time mad because they ticked you off. And let's think about some of those things that will reflect a lack of excellence, and everything that we said is going to reflect a lack of excellence. Obviously, if you just flip it and do the converse, then you will be excellent. So one of the ways is, like we talked about communication. I think I want to come back to that, but one of the things, I think, if you think about it, is like not being prompt and not being diligent. Mm-hmm. If someone, and this can go into the workplace where even you can bring it back to your relationship or any other area where you may have a sphere of influence, but being prompt and diligent. If someone calls you or someone expects you to do something by a certain date and certain time, do you actually do it by that date and by that time, or are you full of excuses and say, well, I couldn't get this done because I was busy. I couldn't get back to you because I was busy. Or I said I would do this by Tuesday, and now here it is Friday, and the person is still waiting. That's not prompt. That's not diligent. That's not excellent. Communication. If you're talking to someone, are you communicating clearly? Are you really making sure that they understood what was said and what was expected of them? Or are you one who would say, I told them and therefore they need to follow through, even though they may not have accurately heard what you desired for them to hear? Those are things that go straight to the core, because when you do that, really you're operating in pride because you're saying, hey, I did it, at least I did it, and now all the burden is on you to be excellent after I was really negligent in my communication.
Mm-hmm. And you can look at it from the standpoint of motivation. What is your motivation for being excellent? Sometimes we're only excellent. It's not that it's a part of who we are, but it's because we're trying to impress someone. Mm-hmm. We want someone to think a certain thing about us. It's almost like being one way when we're out and then another way when we're in. We're two people.
Phony.
Okay.
Is that what you're saying?
Okay.
We're phony.
You're phony if that's the word you want to use. So you're being phony out in the public. Why are you doing that? Especially if you call yourself a man or woman of God. What is your motivation? It always should take you back to the word of God. We always should be looking, how is it that I can glorify God in all of my conduct, in everything that I'm doing and saying? Am I exemplifying him before my peers, before my family, before my children? Because you want to be spoken of in a righteous manner, not just so you can say this is what they think of me, but because you believe it's the right thing to do. And a lot of times we're motivated by other reasons to do whatever it is that we're doing that may be considered excellent.
Right. And actually what you want to do is to always want to be excellent.
Always.
That should be, I mean, because that's who you are and that's what you do. You should always want to be. But as you said, sometimes our motivation is all. And when you bring it back to the home and the family unit, sometimes it's the demotivation that keeps us from being excellent because, like, as you said, we feel like we don't have to be excellent with our children, with our spouses, and with those who are actually close to us.
Right. We
think we should always get a pass with them. And the reality is, I think that's what we really, really need to step it up and put forth extra effort to be excellent. Because look, here's the bottom line. When you do things in a shoddy way, people may tolerate you, but they really don't like working with you.
Yeah. And okay, so that's at work, but what about at home with the children?
They don't like working with you either.
No. And I've seen it so many times just in working with families that there used to be a show that came on called Kids Are People Too. You remember
way
that?
Back in the day, yeah.
That goes
like 70s,
way back.
80s, whatever.
Because we tend to treat children like they're less than human beings. We don't give them a proper understanding of why we do what we do. If they ask us questions, we'll shoo them off, like they get on our nerves or they're interrupting something that we're doing. But we are teaching them and training them how to not be excellent, how to cut corners when we do all of those same things. The best thing you can do for your children, for your spouses, and I know we're talking about it from various veins.
Across the smorgasbord, right?
But how it is that you interact with your children is very important. And to God, that is, he's watching that even more so than what your children are watching. Your children don't know how to put it in proper perspective until they get older. When they're younger, they just know they don't like dealing with you. I
just want to get away from home.
Right. But when they're older and they can begin to assess and evaluate things from a different perspective, because now they're watching you or they're remembering why it is that they didn't like being at home. It's because of the example that you set. And what is it that you want your children to say about you? What kind of memories do you want them to have about the interactions you had based on your desire to be excellent with your kids?
Yeah, you're talking about the kids. I mean, but what kind of things you want your spouse to say about you?
Yes.
Look, a lot of people, they tolerate you, but the reality is when they get around their friends, well, men don't do this. Men always pump it up and act like everything's okay. But the women, they'll get around their friends and say, I can't stand them. Pray with me about this. Pray with me about that. This is not going well. And so you're not, and in those situations, you're not necessarily saying good things about your spouse. Now, and the men, to a certain extent, what they will do, they won't necessarily complain about you. They'll just go with the old men jokes, act like all women are problems, and they'll use it as a justification and not spend a lot of time at the house. But the reality is when you're in those situations, your actions are speaking louder than words. So when you don't want to spend time around her, you're not saying good things about her. So you don't have excellence in the relationship. And then even scripturally speaking, and I think the foundational scripture that we use in that particular chapter for day 16, we talked about a good tree, a bad tree can't bear good fruit. it takes a good tree to actually bear good fruit. So when you look at your life, you look at the quality of your marriage and the quality of your relationships, the questions you have to ask yourself is, what kind of fruit am I bearing? Because if you have excellence, if you're displaying excellence, then you'll be bearing fruit that's excellent.
Right.
If your fruit is bad, that's a clear indication that there's a lack of excellence somewhere. And unfortunately, you can always put the blame on other people, but if you're really honest about it, some of that blame would have to come back to you. Say, there's something about me. There's something about the way I perform. There's something about the way I act. There's something about the way I react. There's something about the way I process information. There's something about the way I communicate that's keeping me from bearing excellence in all that I endeavor to do. And of course, unfortunately, and when you hang around other people who are not excellent, then what you can just sit around and do is just talk about how things are always so hard. And then, you lick their wounds, they lick your wounds. You talk about how things are hard, and then you just going about your business, and no one puts the time in to actually becoming excellent and making excellent a standard that they must always achieve, and not cut corners and excuse me, not cut corners and not do the things that they need to do to actually become excellent in all that they do. And really, it starts with the mindset. As we said, you got to get rid of that at least mindset. At least I fill in the blank mindset.
And whether you're talking about your spouse or your children, or if you're a leader on your job, what people see where your family is concerned, that's a reflection on you. So if you have children who are unruly, and this used to be something that we would joke about when I was younger. If you saw the mom, she was all dressed up, but the children looked like little ragamuffins. Hair not combed, clothes might be dirty. It's like, what kind of mother is that? She is fly, but her children look like they just came out of an orphanage or something, or they were just found on the street. That's a direct reflection on you as the parents, or as the, especially as the husband. Everybody's looking at the rest of your family. So if we want excellence to be reflected, we have to exemplify excellence. We have to practice excellence. We have to teach excellence. We have to be intentional about it. And that is hard work. It's every day when you get up, whatever it is that you're endeavoring to do, you have to think about, how can I do this to the best of my ability? How can I do this and glorify God? And it's really difficult when you're working a job you don't like. It's really difficult when you and your spouse are not getting along.
Or in a relationship that you don't like. Is that what you're
or
saying?
In a relationship that you don't like. It's really difficult when your children are at that age where you just don't like them.
Yeah.
Because they do get there.
Yeah, I remember this one woman on my job. It was really funny, just to digress a little bit. We were talking about her daughter who was about to get married. And she said to me, Tony, I'm going to be very honest with you. I love my son. I do not like my daughter, and I feel really sorry for my future son-in-law.
Wow.
And I laughed, and she said, no, I am really serious. I don't like her.
And we're very dismissive when we don't like people. But when these people are a part of who you are, you have to take the extra time and energy to practice and reflect excellence and show them a different way. Because those unruly children, they're learning whatever behavior that is from somewhere. And we have to counter that by teaching them a better way, by spending time talking with them about why that behavior is unacceptable or will not be tolerated. And don't just dismiss them and dismiss it, because that's the easy way to do it.
That's the easy way to do it.
So as you're going about your week this week, because we will be back next week talking about another topic in leadership, as you're going about your week, think about how it is. Pay attention to how it is that you do what you do. Be willing to ask your family members, what do they think about how you do what you do? Do they think you operate in excellence? Because, of course, we're going to cut ourselves some slack.
Yeah, well, you know what? I would say, well, first and foremost, do an honest evaluation of yourself in every area of your life, whether it's your workplace, whether it's your marriage, whether it's your children, whether it's your leadership, whether it's your community involvement. I know a lot of men, we like to coach sports out there in the communities. That's where we tend to get outside of passion. But just sit down and rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being best. How excellent am I? And then be honest there. Right. And then do something that's going to take a little bit of guts. Ask those who actually interact with you. Would you say that I'm excellent in the way I produce?
Yes.
Whether it's your spouse, whether it's your children, and And I would just say if you're gonna have the guts to do that,
it takes guts.
Just cut them some slack because you're the one who asked the question, and if they don't give you the answers that you want, use it as a learning opportunity. For those that you work with, of course, I know if you're in the workplace, you probably get performance evaluations, but that's a whole other topic because in some cases you may feel like as though your boss isn't qualified to even be rating you, and I completely understand those who are in those situations as well. But those who you interact with, maybe even your peers, would you say that I'm an excellent person, I'm a person of excellence, whatever that may mean to them, and just really get the feedback. And if they, I think you may start finding some common themes, and in some areas where you can really improve, even if you're good, even if they say yes, and if they say yes, you're great, and they give you all kind of kudos. I would even ask them, okay, well, with that being said, I appreciate the compliments now, but tell me, if I could do something better, what would you like to see me do? And how would you like to see me do it? Because you want to really be excellent in all your ways.
Right. And the more you do it, the easier it is to hear the information. Feedback is one of the hardest things to give, and it's one of the hardest things to receive because we are, we're defensive. If you're saying something negative about me, it's kind of hard for me to hear that. But if I know you come with good intentions, you're trying to help me, and especially if I ask for it, if I'm asking you for your feedback, then you have to be ready to receive whatever it is that you hear. If it's something that you don't necessarily agree with, ask for clarifying questions. Well, when is it that I did that? Or how is it that that makes you feel, whatever it is, so that you understand in what context they're saying it or using that example, so that you can work on that. And when you work on that, showing excellence, you're showing that you care.
Yeah, and you're really, and if you're leading people, when you're excellent, they're gonna like working with you more. You'll get better results, and as a matter of fact, they may even ask other people to join some of your endeavors as well. And then it'll just it'll really reduce some of the stress in your own life.
Right. And your relationships will grow as a result of it. Carl, you're making some excellent points. Yes, the more we look at ourselves among others in order to grow, and that's self-development, self-reflection, self-analysis will help with self-development.
Well, and Cole, and with that being said, that's what this book is all about. If you don't have it, go to Amazon.com and get yourself a copy. Well, actually, you can get it one or two ways. Go to Amazon.com. You can type in the title, Leadership Done Right is Hard Work, but it's worth it. Or you can go to Amazon.com and just type in our names, Tony and Nicole Davis, and all of our books will pop up there. Or you can go to our website, empoweredtoengage.com. You can order the books there. Now, if you order the books on empoweredtoengage.com, we'll sign it for you and before it gets shipped out.
Right. And this book is a great resource. We have pastors that are ordering it. It's a great resource for your churches. If you are a pastor, it's great for Bible study. It's great for small group discussion because it's written in a way as a 31-day devotional, but it can easily be a 31-week or one topic per month, because there are so many questions in there that you can reflect on and discuss that it will serve as a rich conversation for as long as you want to talk about it.
Absolutely.
In addition to that, we do have other videos. You can go to our Facebook page, Empowered to Engage. And if you haven't gone there, please like and follow us. All the videos that we've done up to this point are there. And we just did one Tuesday that was really good. We did an interview on leadership and Lead 2020 and what it looks like in the future. So we hope to see you back here with us next Thursday for another topic in leadership. And we thank you so much for joining us.
Peace and blessings. See you next week.